Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here today for our district-wide Professional Development Day. We're doing things a little bit differently today. Thank you to our classified, a majority of or huge number of our classified staff for being here with us today at Comstock. We are actually broadcasting this live to the rest of the district as well. So we are all hearing, that's why I asked, let you know that we were going to get started a couple minutes late because the sites are going to be joining as well. We're doing things a little bit differently today. We're going to have a conversation between Luz Cazares, our interim CBO, and myself as your interim superintendent so that we can talk about where we are as a district and where we go from here moving forward. Before we get into that, I do want to thank all of the staff for joining in the work today and the efforts that all of you bring each day to the work. I have a special thank you to all of the staff who have worked to make today possible. We have had a great start to the school year, but it has not been without its challenges and bumps in the road. I do want to acknowledge that we do have ongoing issues that we all need to come together to resolve. And thank you for managing these difficulties with true professionalism. We've said before, and I want to reiterate our commitment to open communication. And we need to stay focused on how we work together to achieve long-term fiscal stability, evaluating everything that we do in relation to return on investment. And when I say return on investment, that's not just a dollar investment, but an investment of our time and efforts as well. And that return is measured by the impact on our students. So just as we set the tone for today and where we go from here. So welcome, Luz. We wanted to get started by talking a little bit about why we do what we do, where we come from in how we approach our work and why we're here. I think that's something that's really important for all of us to think about. I don't think that anyone comes to this work in a school district without thinking about kids or having a drive to do something for our community. So I'll actually, I'll go ahead and introduce Luz Cazares and let her share, and I will share a little bit about my story as well.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, so I grew up in East Chicago, Indiana. It's an old steel mill town, the northwesternmost point of Indiana. And I grew up surrounded by all of those inner city statistics that tell us that we're going nowhere. Grew up surrounded by gang violence, poverty, domestic violence, alcoholism, drugs, everything you can think of, right? All of those factors. I'm also the daughter of immigrants. I am someone who started, when I started kindergarten, I didn't start with any preschool, and I started fluent in Spanish, not in English. And I'm the first in my family to go to college. Graduated with a bachelor's degree from the University of Chicago and a master's from Harvard. And I do this work because I believe that there is nothing special about me. Every student can do what I did, so long as we surround them with people who care and people who who believe that they can be successful in their lives. I'll pass it on to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Luz. I had some similar challenges and some different challenges growing up. I am one of many from a very patchwork family. Neither of my parents graduated high school. My mother was they got married when my mom found out she was pregnant with me at 16. And we had similar challenges as far as with alcoholism and drug addiction in my family. We were often unhoused or doubled up. I remember going to, we were camping for about 6 months when my mom was pregnant with my youngest sister. It took me 24 years to complete my bachelor's degree. I did that while working way more than full-time, working in education and in banking. Education is my second career. I was in retail banking and loan underwriting and that for about 13 years prior to coming to this work. I started as a classified member as a career center technician and then worked in the district office as an executive assistant for the CBO and the superintendent, took on HR responsibilities, and then got my CBO certification. I have children as well, so all of this during that time. And I got my bachelor's degree in organizational management at the age of 48. And then I decided that if I wasn't going to do my master's immediately, it wasn't going to happen, just knowing that. And so I finished that actually during my first year and a half here at Santa Rosa City Schools. The reason I share that is because it really is for me about the need for all of us to grow and to know that our families, our students come from so many different backgrounds. And Luce and I had this conversation during our admin retreat that many of the people that we talk to in our work come from similar backgrounds. It's not, or have a similar why. Not everybody does. We all have a different story, but as Luce said, I'm not special. I'm not unique. Just had people who believed, and that included myself believing. So thank you for the work that you do and for the heart that you bring to serving our students every day. And Luce is also teaching at Berkeley today, so we only have her for a few minutes. So we're going to try and have a little bit of a conversation around our current challenges and where we are. So our core challenge remains, and that is expenditures are still outpacing our revenues. We must identify a substantial amount, $10 to $15 million in potential ongoing budget solutions. So Luce, as someone with a breadth of experience, looking at our fiscal reality from the outside, how do you see we are at where we are as a district and where we need to go?
Yes. So I think what I can point to with the greatest clarity is the most recent communication we've received from the Sonoma County Office of Education. They've informed us that they have designated us as a lack of going concern. Those are some funny words when they're put together that way. What a going concern means is that an organization is expected to exist the way it does today in the next 12 months. So a going concern is what we want. We want to be a going concern, to know that in 12 months, we're not going to be bankrupt. In 12 months, we're going to be where we are, continuing to do the great work that we're doing. A lack of going concern, which is what our designation is, has now raised a question mark about where we will be in 12 months. The county is doing its job. It's its job to oversee us this way and make these determinations, and that's fine. We're okay with that. We know for ourselves, we are prepared to do the work and committed to maintaining local control. I believe deeply that a community is best positioned to make the decisions for its communities. External parties just don't have the nuances that we have. And so I want to be really clear with that. It doesn't mean we're being taken over. It doesn't mean we're going into receivership. They're doing their job, raising a red flag. We're doing our job to lower that flag.
Thank you. And I think I want to reiterate what you just said, and that is that it isn't that they're doing something to us. It's they're doing their role and we're doing our role, continuing the work that we have been doing. It takes a long time to right a ship of our size. And we've started processes over the last few years, and we have to now tighten those up even more because our time is running out. And so it really is important that we finish the work that we began. Again, to reiterate, it means that decisions about budgets and resources reflect the values of our community. That's really important. Something that, I'm just looking at some notes. We're not really reading. We had some topics we wanted to cover. But one of the things I think that maybe we haven't said here that I think may be really important, Luz, I think you put it in a really great way, describing really what is receivership, as far as the power consolidation and what that means, because I know that question comes up. We hear it in the community. We sometimes hear it from staff. Wouldn't it be better?
Oh, yeah. I will say, I served as the trustee for Oakland Unified. They've now exited receivership, and I served as the fiscal advisor for Hayward Unified, and they went from negative to qualified and are working their way to positive. I promise you that there is nothing beneficial that comes from receivership other than you get an emergency loan. You get a bunch of cash in order to ensure that you make payroll, but that's a very short-lived benefit. We will end up repaying the loans and dealing with the oversight for many, many, many years. What it ultimately means to go into receivership, it means we've run out of cash to make payroll and need an emergency loan. The state does save us and provide that emergency loan, but in exchange for that cash, they take over the role of the superintendent and the board. So the role and responsibility and function of the board and the superintendent get consolidated into a county administrator, not someone we select, someone the county selects. And so that county administrator ends up then with what I would consider a tremendous amount of influence and authority over the community, where our voices otherwise just will not have a place anymore. And it takes years and years and years to recover from it.
So to reiterate that, the loans typically are about 15 to 20 years to pay back. That means that in addition to the regular reductions that we need to make, we have to pay back interest, and the administrator is paid substantially more than any superintendent, and they have all of that consolidated power. Just to say that this isn't about what I do. It's not about what the board does, our separate roles. It's about maintaining what is right for our community. And one of the things that we want to make sure that we do is that all of these discussions, the work that needs to happen, we're committed to talking about this from the inside out. That's why we're talking to you this morning, making sure that you are informed and you hear this from us. The budget solutions will be identified openly. We will be sharing things we have a rate that we will do that at over the next couple of months. And roughly 82.5% of our unrestricted budget is dedicated to people. And so that does mean that it will impact our staff and programs. What we need to do, though, is in order to ensure we're making the best recommendation to the board, we have to look at all options. And we will be sharing those solutions, possible budget solutions, later this month with refined lists in November and December. As we look to our solutions, we are going to focus on our core values, compliance functions, and an investment lens. So as we move forward, everything needs to remain student-centered. We'll be filtering through the lens of investing in student success and continued focus on high-quality first instruction. There are also services and functions that are required by state and federal law. And Luz, I'll hand it over to you for this one.
Sure. The dollars that we're looking for are significant. They're notable. And so I would submit to you, think it's really important that we consider the system as a whole. And so when we are thinking about the reductions, really thinking about what it means to be a school organization, what is our core work, and then how do we how do we layer out away from that as we're determining what those adjustments are going to be. I hesitate to speak of reductions strictly. They really are budget solutions and reprioritizations. We will look at where we can enhance revenue. Just as everybody knows, our primary source of revenue is the local control funding formula, and that is primarily based on attendance, right? The tush and the cush is what generates the revenues. And so I think we have a very deep interest in ensuring that we're having the kids in the classroom so that one, that's where the teaching and learning is happening, and so we need them there for that. And two, it also generates the revenues for us. So looking at how we can enhance some of our revenues is on the list, as well as looking at those areas where we can reduce spending, stop spending, defer spending. We'll be looking at all of the options. And I can see people are doing it as we're looking at some of the spending that's happening now, right? One of the key questions that comes up for us is this expense necessary now? Is this something that can wait a year? Is this something we can stop do? Those are critical questions for us as we do our work to conserve cash.
And I think that's a really key piece is just the way that we approach our work every day, making sure that we're being mindful and thoughtful about what we are doing, why, and how. And that's, there have been a lot of changes that we've made at a district in our systems. And part of that has been in an effort to make sure that we are really, again, focusing those resources, not just the money, but that's a big part of it, but the time. How do we continue to do what we do? And let's evaluate how we do it. What is the reason? What is our why in serving students? So I know that we need to wrap up in just a moment. A couple things I want to share. I know this is difficult. It creates strain, and we are committed to communicating with respect, transparency, and partnership. We will adhere strictly to our bargaining agreement. So please don't hear as we're saying, oh, we need to be careful, we need to do this. That doesn't mean that we're not still paying attention to the things that we need to do to be good partners with labor. Making sure that we are looking at all lenses. How do we do things in different ways? What do we think about every day when we come to this? I'm confident that with everyone's continued dedication and collaboration, we won't only meet the minimum that we need to do right now. We really have an opportunity to reimagine, reinvent how we do this going forward. And I think that there have been some really innovative things that we've been able to work with our partners on. For example, with CSEA, working towards restructuring some things for our special education staff, trying to recruit our own staff. So we've reduced our reliance on contract work. That is an immediate impact to our budget when we are able to recruit our own staff for those services. And we provide higher quality service to our students that way. There are ways for us to do this that really are thoughtful and mindful. Another way was in our conversations with SRTA and changing our independent study MOU to make it to where that's something that we can expand services to students without increasing costs. One area that we lose students to is because we haven't been able to offer that. So those are ways that we can change what we're doing and really make an impact on that positive side. Liz, did you have anything else that you would like to share before we wrap it up?
I'll just, for folks, I know there's a lot about this context that can make us nervous or anxious. I'll just add, like, I believe firmly with what I see in the books and what I see staff's willingness to get the work done and the board's willingness to get the work done is we're going to get out of this. I'm not losing sleep at night that we are gonna not take the actions we need to ensure that we're maintaining local control. We will get through this. We're going to pick up some bumps and some scrapes along the way, but we will get to the other side of this.
Thank you. I feel wholeheartedly the same way. Just so that you know, we are continuing as we work with the county. Yes, they have their role for oversight. Part of that is us keeping them informed of our progress and what we're doing. So Dr. Carter, the superintendent for the county, and I are meeting regularly. Luce is meeting regularly with her counterpart, talking about our budget solutions. All of these happen across the board. And so just wanting to let you know, we are working in tandem with them. It's not, we're making sure that we are doing what's needed to be done, and that they have confidence that we are doing that as well. So just wanted to make sure that we share that. We know that you probably have a lot of questions about budget and other things. We will display a QR code in a moment. So as you have questions, put them on there. We will get those answered as we can. Please know that I'm sure there will be a lot. And so it may take us a little bit of time to get through all of those. And some of them may get answered as we go through the next few months as we get through this process. So we do have that available, and we will be posting that online. Or one of the things I want to make sure that we know is we will continue our commitment to providing information to our staff that is pertinent to staff. You have different questions than our community. Sometimes there's overlap, but there are things that we have that are maybe, through a different lens than that of parents. And so we will continue to be mindful in the way that we share information, of trying to answer the questions that you have that are specific to you, rather than blasting that across the community, because that sometimes can actually create confusion or uncertainty for our parents. Anything else to add, Luz, before we wrap it up?
No, thank you to everyone for engaging in their professional learning and growth today.
Thank you. And thank you so much. I also want to, just thank everybody out there in Zoom land at your sites, as well as our staff who are here. This meeting, or this conversation, is being recorded on Zoom, I believe, and will be added to our site for those who were not able to attend today. Thank you. Bye, Luz.
Bye-bye.